you know, again, why I wanted to partner up with people that I knew that I could send you folks to and know that you were going to be handled properly is because you haven't gone through this process in a long time. And in a lot of cases, you know, if I'm a professional in real estate, this is old hand. I just, you know, sign here, sign here, sign here. And you are feeling, and this is what I've heard from clients, you are feeling literally like your house is being ripped up from under you. Okay? And so one of the things that I wanted to minimize was kind of that traumatic side of the experience. I mean, a couple things, I hear hesitations all the time from clients. And they're around things like, oh, well, you know, if I move, what about my doctor? Right? Like, what about finding a new doctor? What about finding a new dentist? You know, and it's that whole fear of the unknown that seems to be the sticking point. So I thought that maybe, you know, what we could do is start by dispelling some of these fears of the unknown through a session like this. Okay? So, go ahead.
Well, and that's a critical point. One of the things that we really looked at, if you get to the what part, I'm kind of working back, I guess, from your left to right, is the what. What does the process look like to you? And in the planning stage, and what you're doing now through education, it really is, what do I need to know? So you don't want to be waiting to the 11th hour to be saying, okay, now I'm in a new town, I'm in a new city, I'm in a new location. What about my healthcare needs? What about those issues? So we try to actually start to kind of lean towards planning for that in advance, making sure that people kind of go, okay, yes, I'm comfortable. I've now connected to somebody who can refer me to somebody that I trust. I've met the individual, whether it be for healthcare, might even be just for something as simple as a barber. Not that I would know from experience, but in some cases, it means something to people to have a good barber. So, thank you, Aaron. Okay, so once we actually have a map of what we want to see happen, and really it's like traveling across the country on that train. Where are we? Where are we now? You know, excuse me, where have we been? Where are we now? Where do we want to be? Now is the planning side and the process of this. And you'll notice inside your pamphlet that there is something, a brochure from a company called Helps. And Helps is a company of 9 women who are wonderful at almost being magical. What they basically do is they can come in, they can close their arms, they can blink their eyes, and have you reappear in your new home painlessly. And that's a wonderful experience. It's a very unique service. To be honest with you, you've never seen the company out there or advertised. They don't need to. Everything is word of mouth. They do a wonderful job, wonderful business. It is 9 women who come in and pack it up, suggest how to kind of, you know, present your home for sale. It's not completely staging, but it could incorporate staging, and I'll explain a little bit about what that is, and get you to the new residence. So in the first part here, really, in many homes that you've been in for 20, 30, 40 years, this has got your thumbprint on it. The house is very unique. Aaron and I have been into a number of homes where the home has it just screams home. Not bricks and mortar, not house for sale, home. And then of course we come in and we kind of go, we want to take home out of it, we want to sell bricks and mortar. and that is a struggle. That's a struggle emotionally, physically, in some cases financially. Because, you know, there might have been some home maintenance that just wasn't a priority, just wasn't on the list. All of a sudden now it's a big issue for everybody that the caulking around the window wasn't done. In this case, storing, shipping, I have storing twice, good for me. That would be staging, the third one, pardon me, if that's not what it says on there. Or excuse me, I guess I'm on there. Well, that's all good. What we're looking at is really getting people ready for this. And in some cases, it can take more than just a couple of weeks. Mark, you have a story about someone who took almost a year and a half.
Yeah, this is interesting. And I know what the first category is. It's just reversed. It's sorting, not storing. And the reason why I know that is, and I would suggest that if you have the time to do it and you're not planning on downsizing right away, this is a fantastic way to go and a great story. And I'm sure I've probably shared it with some of you. My wife's grandfather
God bless him. He's an engineer. Sorry, Dan. I know Dan's an engineer as well. I'm not picking on engineers. I'm saying that they're wonderfully organized people. He learned to use a computer. He is 84 years old. He learned to use a computer about 3 or 4 years ago, and absolutely loves it. Okay, how many people now use a computer in this room? Show of hands. Almost everybody. Amazing. The fastest growing segment of people using computers and email in North America is 60 plus. Okay, so it's a wonderful, wonderful tool. And what he did was he went in and he created a spreadsheet, itemized everything in the house. And he sent the spreadsheet to his 2 sons and to all of there's 4 grandkids. And everybody basically sent it back to him, ticked off what we wanted, what tools, what paintings, and you would be surprised, actually shocked at what some of the stuff on the list was. My wife wanted, by the back door, there happens to be a cowbell. And when she was a kid, her grandpa would lift her up and ring the cowbell when it was supper time. I mean, this thing's god-awful. I mean, I know she's not in the room. I love her dearly. It's ugly.
This is being recorded.
But this is being recorded. How much trouble am I in now? But you know what? It meant so much to her that, it's funny because her grandparents were shocked that she didn't put down the china, that she didn't put down the silverware, which was probably worth a heck of a lot more. She put down the bell. Okay? And so itemizing that stuff and sending it off and saying, okay, well, what do you actually want? Gives you a much better idea when you start to think about, okay, am I going to start having my first garage sale, or am I going to put some things in the paper, or am I going to put them on eBay or Kijiji or other wonderful internet tools that are out there? Are these things that I'm giving away that the grandkids wanted to have, or that the kids wanted to have? Or I've shown it to everybody, nobody wants it, I'm getting rid of it because we don't need it anymore. And what he did was, after he got the list down, he paid a mover, because they live in Winnipeg. They put everything in the truck. The truck stopped in Sarnia at my in-laws' house, dropped off some stuff, then dropped off here in Burlington to come see Kat and I, and then went to see Kat's brother in Ottawa and dropped off the rest of the stuff. And that was the first stage of minimizing. After that, he had 2 estate sales, so really they're garage sales, but when you say estate sales, people love that, right? They come in droves. So he had 2 estate sales. And then after that, he gave away a bunch of stuff. They gave stuff to Amity. They gave tools and things like that to neighbors and friends' kids who were just starting out and that they knew that they wouldn't need anymore. And then finally, after 18 months, they put their house up for sale last month because they had finally they found a spot that was open at the residence that they wanted to get into, which they were on the waiting list for 6 months for. And so now they actually sold their house within a week, and they're actually moving in next week into the new residence. So there's a story about a very organized move, but how long did it take? It took 1.5 years. And again, that's the reason why you're sitting in the seats right now, is even if you're not thinking about downsizing today, but even if it's 5 years from now, those little small things can start to happen to make the job less daunting when the day comes.
Okay, the people in your move. Well, it's an interesting concept here that you will find in our company, I say on a regular basis to the point of nauseum for most people who listen to me, is that real estate is a team sport. Not only on our side as people who are in the profession and make a living selling houses, but it's also on your side as the consumer. Real estate is a team sport. You will have a number of different advisors that will help you in the process. Well, hopefully will help you in the process. Some are very helpful. Some are great sounding boards, great advisors. Some really have their own agenda to their answer. No, you can't sell for that. I'm selling next year and you have to sell for this so I can sell for that. So they will actually necessarily not give you the best advice, but give you advice that serves them. What we try to do where possible, and obviously through the direction of Mark, is to find out who is that center of influence? Who else in the process from the beginning should be a part of this decisioning? Many cases, there are other family members. It could be a brother, a sister, children, that also will have a vested interest. We try to make sure that everybody is part of the process as early on as possible. We do that for 2 reasons. We want to make sure that everybody understands so that you don't have to go repeat what we've said. And it's like telephone. We basically said, this is how we actually go ahead and sell real estate. What you'll end up with at the very end is, they're going to take my house. We don't want that conversation. So we want as many people at the beginning of this to make it sound like, okay, we've asked our questions, we understand, we know what's going on, and we're comfortable with this moving forward. As we go through this, we will make a list of external partners that we may need. So certainly in the case of Aaron and I, and of course Mark, who else do we need to have engaged in this process? Do we need the services of our banker, our mortgage broker? Do we need a lawyer that's involved and on-site? Does the accountant need to be involved, etc.? There might be some other peripheral people on the real estate side, i.e. home stagers. Does everybody know what